We got Matt Baldassano and William Neville on the podcast today. This is going to be fun because we're talking everything CommScope. So Matt works for CommScope and William uses CommScope on a daily basis. I'm going to kick it over to Matt. Just like tell me like who you are, what you do, and just a little bit about like your career, just like real briefly.
Sure. Well, Blake, thanks for having me on the podcast. Certainly like to talk out loud informally, and I think this is a good platform for that. So yeah, Matt, I've been with CommScope almost 12 years. I'm currently a technical consultant in the Cloud Scale group. So I service there's a subset of customers, right, which are named the who's who within the world and who are deploying cloud as a service. And they have some unique technical data center fiber network requirements that we see on a pretty much day-to-day basis. So I've been with this group for a couple of years. Prior to that, I was working in an MTDC role. So, where do clouds live? They live in MTDC. So it was kind of a natural progression for me to learn the MTDC space and then take that and help our cloud accounts. And prior to that, as you were mentioning, I had a local role in New York. I'm based in Brooklyn and was doing everything from enterprise office space to wireless to fiber and data centers. So I had a very general role from about 2010. But I actually cut my teeth with CommScope in 2008 in kind of like a technical marketing, a little bit of an R&D role. Actually have a patent in a fiber optic shelf that we deployed in a kind of a turnkey server cabinet, right? So we used to do 10, 15 years ago, there was a lot of technology being challenged in the industry, and there was a lot of stuff, and we've seen some more consistency in how people deploy now, right? Because we've learned the right ways to do things, and we've learned the take a chance way to do things.
So you own the patent? Was that what you said?
I got it. This one, this is the patent, right?
Show and tell time. I love show and tell. That's awesome.
This is show and tell. This is so if anybody asks, it's a data communication telecommunications patching system with integrated connectivity module.
That's incredible.
25th, 2013. So,
like, how does that work? Can you like sell that patent to somebody and make a bunch of money, or like how does that? Are you going to hold on to it?
I got paid my $200 by CommScope for the patent. No, it's CommScope owns the patent. We worked on it, but certainly
gotcha. I gotcha.
Nice conversation starter. It's good for the resume.
For sure. Oh, you mentioned Brooklyn, and I forgot to mention Anthony Romeo. So he's actually the true reason we're on this show together. So how do you know Anthony and Wise Components? What's your history with those guys?
Sure. So Anthony was with CommScope when I was with CommScope, and we were running around the local New York, New Jersey market together a few years ago. And he, God bless him, got a great opportunity to work for Wise and really to do some big things, big picture. So we've stayed close, and we still work together now. And he's really one of my top go-to people within the industry, somebody I respect.
Yeah. Did you get on his podcast, the Wise Up podcast?
I got on the Wise Up. We did something real specific on MTDCs and connecting into the cloud. So it was
nice.
It was a nice.
Yeah. So yeah, shout out to Wise Up podcast and Anthony Romeo. Check their stuff out. Really good group over there. So yeah. So let's William Neville. I want to get a brief rundown because you just started working for Hyphn Studio, correct?
Yeah, we are like a turnkey. Other than doing plumbing and full electrical, we are like a one-stop shop. You can buy everything from your high-end office furniture, from steel case, all the way down to DAS systems provided by CommScope, and the infrastructure that we generally use, which is all CommScope and with Chatsworth, a little Chatsworth mixed in there. But yeah, we are kind of diehard CommScope fans. They have a great agreement with the resellers and the distributors where we keep coming back for more.
Yeah. So who is CommScope for? Like, in your opinion, William, because I know you do like the higher end stuff. You know, we focus a lot on SMB work in our community, and we have a few guys, including you, that do the higher end data centers and the stuff you do for Hyphn. So, is that typically what CommScope is used for?
I would think so. Yeah, it's. I'm not saying it's the cheapest, or it's by no means is it the cheapest out there or less expensive, but it's a brand that's reputable, and
Right.
there's no questions asked. If it's done well and you have it registered, like a System X system, if you have it registered, they're going to come in and they're going to fix it, and they're going to make sure it happens, even though it never actually happens once if you register it and do it completely to their standards.
Right.
So
Yeah.
they
So
have all their
like,
I's and all their, they have everything, all their I's dotted, all their T's crossed, and a lot more headroom than any other brand out there, in my opinion.
Doesn't mean you can install it incorrectly.
Yeah.
But that's one of the reasons why these companies go for CommScope. It's like you need to have the warranty, you got to have the CommScope name backing it, or else like they're not going to even like look at you or touch you if you do some other brand. Correct?
Yeah, exactly. Well, you need it to even bid on it. Like they won't even accept your bid unless you have your relationship like this with CommScope. And there's a few other brands out there, but that's who we pick. And a lot of that I think has to do with like our company could be here this year and be gone in 5. CommScope's gonna stay, and they're gonna make sure that if we're gone, someone else is gonna be able to come in, and they're gonna do everything to their exact specifications that they've deemed for their system, their network to be built on, and that's where, that's how they register it and how they warranty it.
And just to add to that, so there are applications today that we warranty, right? Data rates that we have guidelines for, right? Length and number of connection points and loss budgets. And then there's also stuff in the future that hasn't been fully standardized, right? Like some of the higher speeds that we will warranty to a certain extent, provided that William, you had mentioned, right? It's installed, there's test results, there's certifications behind the first installation. So that's one of the components that I was like, what do you mean you warranty the future? Like, well, we can't guarantee that it's going to react to a certain standard because we don't know the standards of the future. But if it does, we will put a warranty around it, right, for certain utilization of our product for applications that don't exist right now that are coming. So it's kind of blew me off. I was like, wow, it's pretty good engineering. It's a good.
It's great. A lot of that OM5 stuff out there, which I haven't even touched much of it, but it's you already know all about it. I've done all the training on it, so I'm chomping at the bit, waiting to do some. Not really. But.
Yeah. We got to get the transceivers in the market, and then that OM5 is going to roll.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So speak to that, William. Like OM5, like what is it? Like, why is it important? I want to hear more.
That's going to be. I'm pretty sure our buddy here can speak better to that than me, but that's like the new age data center communication. You can move 400 gigs per pair. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's a multi-mode.
In the future, potentially in the future, yeah. So it's basically we'll call it the wavelength. So OM4, right? OM4 runs on one wavelength, right? OM5 actually takes the same capacity as OM4 and just gives you multiplexing on a multi-mode transceiver, right? So everybody knows multiplexing, not everybody, but on single mode, multiplexing using multiple wavelengths on one fiber is very common. And it's common because the transceivers are specific to that, to multiplexing, right? Within the multi-mode world, to date, generally OM3, OM4, you're only testing at one wavelength, right? So you're only guaranteeing performance on one wavelength. When you move to OM5, they actually guarantee 4 different wavelengths. And as long as you have an OM5 capable transceiver, what you used to be able to do on one pair of fiber, you'll be able to do 4x on, in the future than what you're doing today, right? So the 100 gig over one pair today may move to 400 gig over a certain distance, right? Distance, there's also power, there's budgets right in between those distance and number of connection points, which will help shape where OM5 lives within the data center. But it is a low cost, low power, high bandwidth, and the very repeatable, right? Because multi-mode, generally you have a lower loss rate within manufacturing, right? There's less connectors and cables that don't pass the test on multi-mode because of the quality that's manufacturing process, which is employed then and potentially on single mode. So there's OM5 is the future. It's also lime green. So if you see that, it's actually, so people say lime, it's chartreuse. If you whatever you make of that, it's a cool color.
Is it chartreuse? What was
chartreuse? Chartreuse is the I believe is if you dig into the,
it's the proper.
Yeah, it's the proper name, the proper. There's that color palette. Right?
Yeah, so we're talking about like the future and like what excites you, like what technology excites you, Matt, that CommScope will be connecting and helping, pave the way for the future. Anything on the roadmap?
So I come down, let me take a quick step back. Before I did the kind of wireline piece, I was doing some unlicensed wireless like Wi-Fi. This is a long time ago when it wasn't secure, it wasn't mainstream, it wasn't wasn't relied upon, it wasn't deployed as ubiquitous as we see it today. So when the wire, I think the most exciting thing about CommScope is we have this major wireless portfolio, whether it's licensed or unlicensed, and we have a heavy duty wireline portfolio for enterprise, for service provider, now for cloud provider. And those mix together, when the active equipment that we sell for wireless providers starts living in data center cages, plugging into the passive equipment that we're currently running today. I mean, I see that as a great moment for CommScope, right? To say the effort that they've thought, the long-term R&D and the foresight for trying to get this together really happens, right? Because there's a lot of active components on the wireless side, and there's a lot of complex passive components on the layer one physical side within data centers. So as edge networks, right, start to reveal themselves, we're going to start seeing, we may start seeing kind of two different groups within CommScope, which used to sell to two different, purchasing, people, two different types of companies actually start buying it and deploying them together.
Yeah, so you mentioned wireless. Are you talking about like 5G infrastructure? Is that something that CommScope is heavily involved in?
Yeah, so it certainly it's not something that I'm privy to on a day-to-day basis from an engineering perspective, but yeah, CommScope has active components and passive components for 4G for LTE. We're developing 5G systems today, and we also have a brand called Ruckus Networking, which actually plays in the unlicensed space, whether that be Wi-Fi or CBRS. So I think we may see a convergence on some of those technologies at CommScope, right? You may be able to buy a system. I don't know if it'll be one particular product, but a system that allows you to do your layer one networking plus your wireless, licensed, unlicensed, and any combination of when they offload to each other, right? For kind of first 5G implementations, right? Which is like 4G plus Wi-Fi. It's like a poor man's 5G today, right?
Right. Wow.
before you get a full blown Wi-Fi, a 5G system, right, with the millimeter wave and different antennas and all the other components that we're starting to see.
It's kind of a mess right now, isn't it? I feel like
it's a Wild West, right? It's a little bit of a Wild West.
It's worse than when they rolled out, 4G and LTE and all the different branding from all the telcos, and they have dynamic spectrum sharing and all this, and it's like a hybrid. It's just like, what is going on here?
Well, and one of the things that CommScope is, internally or maybe externally as well, right? I think to the market, right? They're talking about 5G and 10G. Now, those are two All right. So 10G is 10G is over here and 5G is over there.
Let's get 5G right first.
But they're both, well, 10G was, was 10 gig, right? That's what they mean by
Oh,
right.
I got you. Yeah,
put those in the same sentence and keep a straight face.
Very confusing. Yeah, completely different things. William, what's exciting you in the field right now? Any new technology you guys are rolling out, or what you got going on?
I like how CommScope has gotten everything to a standard to a degree. They bought amp. If you know anything about that, Matt, you bought that out. That's one of my favorite actual tools on the market. I'm for doing copper. But other than that,
what's the tool? What's it called?
I call it the amp tool, the Net Connect, or whatever you want to call it.
It's in the basement. I thought I had it right here. I was going to do a quick demo. But,
I was about to say, yeah. It's like,
okay, he's got it. Pull it out.
I want to see it.
No, I was about to. No, I have like 3 of them. They're upstairs. So
gotcha.
But yeah, that's one thing I like. But really, I'm intrigued more so with CommScope, and I've always have been intrigued with their wireless technology, because we have a few clients where we deal with square miles worth of coverage, and that's when you need these microwave antennas, and you need some other things. And with their ruckus system and everything like that's coming out, it's becoming a lot more streamlined, easier to bid, easier to design. You can just kind of like, oh, here, I need to bring in Wi-Fi and some LTE to this remote water processing plant that's out in the middle of nowhere, and I can barely get fiber there, and it took millions of dollars of state money to get that fiber there. Now we got to spend a couple million more to get it on the premises. So it's exciting. It's exciting all the way around, because now you can, we as a simple designer and with our network infrastructure background, we can kind of design some of these systems with CommScope's help, their training. They have a lot of online resources that we can utilize. So I can go without having any knowledge of wireless networking, go to the CommScope Academy, and then actually walk away feeling trained and confident.
Yeah. That's interesting. I didn't even know. I've heard of Ruckus. I didn't know that was a CommScope product. But how does it compare to other players? I mean, is like Cisco a competitor to that? I mean, is Ubiquity, or like who is in this space exactly?
So Cisco and Aruba are two competitors in the current verticals that CommScope focuses on, right? So Cisco's obviously, Cisco's in all verticals. Aruba has their verticals. CommScope has Ruckus has its verticals. So we're very, very successful in some of the areas that we focus on, whether it be hospitality, education. Those are two areas that really take advantage of some of the features that Ruckus Wi-Fi APs can provide. But it's not. It's I have a couple in my house here because why not?
Why not? Right.
I got 2 girls. They're working. They're from home. My wife's on doing streaming all day, right? So we had to upgrade the home Wi-Fi 6 a few months ago. But they are Ruckus has a super tried and trusted technology, and it's quite it's very it's very solid, right? I don't know much about Cisco and Aruba to compare it to, right? I'm not in that space, but it's a great complement if you're looking for a one-stop shop for connectivity, cabling, and then other layer 2/IoT, right, components that you can plug into our systems and do more than just Wi-Fi, right?
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I got a couple more questions and we'll wrap it up here. Is there anything that's on CommScope's roadmap you want to share with the audience? Anything that's like
that I can share? Yeah,
right.
So we'll talk data center, and we'll get a little bit specific. I won't stay too long on it, right? But what we're seeing in the data center now is we're seeing a move from 100 gig, right, to 400 and 800 gig, and that's almost all 400 and 800, put them in the same bucket because they're playing by several of the same rules. With that is actually coming a new connector. So it's exciting times, right? SC was old school, right? LC has been the de facto for any duplex connectivity, single mode or multi-mode. And what we're seeing now is a connector called the SN connector, right? So Sam Nancy, and that connector is 3 times the density of a LC connector. So in the space, in the area that you can fit an LC, right, you can get 3 of these duplex SN connectors. I don't know if that's going to end up being the density we put onto the panels, but we're seeing this connector because we're seeing transceivers, these 400 and 800 gig transceivers, take advantage of this connector as well. So what was once an 8-fiber multi-fiber connector, right? We see these MPOs plugging into transceivers. We may see 4 times a much smaller SN connector at the front of a switch, right? And that allows, what that really allows for is you can have your cake and eat it too, right? You can have an 8-fiber transceiver, but you can just touch 2 fibers at a time, right? You're not, if you have an issue, you don't need to take down all links all at once. So that's pretty exciting. That's the first time in a long time that we've seen a new connector become mainstream. So that's one. And then I'll talk about another issue that I see within MTDCs and large clouds that do campuses is conduit space, pathway space, right? Very expensive to run conduit, and it's a shame when you don't calculate how much fiber or how much density your cables are going to require within that conduit in relation to how much fiber you may need, for the life of the conduit, right? And there's a technology out there now called rollable ribbon, right? And CommScope uses rollable ribbon in our assemblies and some of our raw fiber, and that's basically 50% smaller than standard ribbon fiber at the same count. So so people say I can get twice as much in the same space. Yes, and then that the conversation moves from there. But it's a ribbon splicing skill set, right? So it's not individual, not a single splice. It's a little bit different from a handling perspective, but it's certainly something which is exciting. And as we start seeing cable assemblies, as we start seeing it rolled out at lower counts, right? The counts I'm talking about are 3,000 fibers, 1,700 fibers, right? Really, really, really big stuff. But as we start to see that down in double digits, right? 48, 96, 144 fibers, all the cables within the cages in the data center are going to be super small, right? You may not be able to tell a difference in the future between like a 72 and a 144 by looking at it.
I wonder how this is going to impact splicers. Are they going to have to buy all new equipment? I'm assuming yes.
Well, it's a ribbon splice skill set. So that today exists generally in kind of an OSP world, right? In a service world, and a little bit less within the 4 walls or cage within a data center. So I know that we're working on some technology to help make that easier. Right, where our jobs are
right.
Invest in new technology for customers, and the second is to make it just as easy as the old technology. So that's something we're focusing on.
Have you seen Facebook's robot that climbs on the poles and the cables that just splices it for you?
I've heard about that. I haven't seen it, but
I don't know.
You're going to start to see robotics.
Exactly.
Start to see, and again, not because of any other anything else other than assurance and consistency, right?
Yeah.
When you're doing thousands and thousands and thousands, robots generally, or even if you're
they work 24/7.
A little bit more accurate, yeah.
A little more accurate, yeah. William, what are your thoughts on the connector? I saw you kind of light up.
I'm excited.
Okay.
I'm excited because MPO was at the last big standardized connector to come out.
And MPO is not going away. Think about that. The fiber counts within the MPOs are changing, right? So
they'll go up.
With 12, we saw 8s and 24s. We're going to start to see 16s. So it keeps us all in business.
Oh, I know, and I like it. And I mainly like when you're stuck with the density in the data center, and then one of my biggest hassles is having to, let's say, add an extra ladder rack above to even handle the amount of cabling that needs to be put in for the designer. And so it's all good news all the way around, because now we can still use the existing physical structure to now expand. So it's good all the way around. I don't know how my fat fingers are going to do with like undoing really something that's even smaller than an LC, but I mean,
that was my concern.
I'll get over it. I mean, I'm sure CommScope's going to make me a nice little tool that I'm going to have to buy 6 of.
That's
to keep my guys busy.
Yeah, you got guys to do it with smaller fingers. I'm sure it'll be fine.
I know. I got lots of guys with small fingers. I got one guy that's just meant to go between switches.
Yeah,
go in there. You can grab things out between switches.
Gopher or whatever. The guy sitting up in the attic.
He's like, "Hey, come here." So I want to throw his name out there, but yeah,
yeah.
I like him.
Don't get in trouble. Cool. William, anything that you wanted to share about Hyphn that's on the roadmap? Anything exciting coming in the pipeline or what?
Hey, we're just refining our industry. Like the furniture industry that we're accustomed to we have like 50 years of troubleshooting and getting these practices, processes, and procedures down to a science. And with AV and data center work, it's since it's ever changing, it's difficult to actually get those procedures down. But that's one thing we're putting a lot of our resources in, is figuring out a way to streamline that all the way around. And I think companies like CommScope help facilitate that for us.
Yeah, and you mentioned training, how they do training really well. You can go on the academy on the website. Any advice you would give somebody that's like in your space for training? Is it like Bixby? Is it CommScope? Is it all the above? Like what are your thoughts, William?
It's going to be CommScope based. I mean, you're going to want to and need to be getting in a relationship with them to sell their gear,
right, before
you even really get into it, because it's very specific to the manufacturer and it's very manufacturer specific information. But then they'll give you one manufacturer specific thing and they'll give you 4 little pointers of why they scientifically proved it. And so there's a lot of education in general about why things happen the way they do and why connectors are made the way they are. And we can go down that rabbit hole, but CommScope's done a very good job at making that very layman for anybody to understand.
Yeah. Matt, did you have anything to add on the training piece around that?
I mean, so we beefed up training last year, right? Everybody was home, all the techs and all the sales engineers and infrastructure engineers, application engineers were busy creating training, right? And taking what's in our head and creating training for the academy. So most of what you see that's on the academy now is fresh, it's up to date, it's very relevant. I mean, there are a couple of some legacy pieces of technology, right, that haven't changed. But to Will's point, there's a lot, whether it's wired, wireless, licensed, wireless, unlicensed wireless, service provider, right? We haven't touched that at all, right? That's a whole nother leg of CommScope. So there's a lot of content, there's a lot of education out there. It is very specific to what we do and how we do it. But I would say most of it also applies to general basics within telco, datacom industry, right? So if you're CommScope certified and you don't use CommScope anymore, you're still very well off. You still have a great education baseline for as Will say, why things are done and potentially make arguments both ways when people are asking you questions. So I think I think there's a lot of value in the content that we have online and we share.
Cool. All right. Yeah. Let's wrap it up with William. Where can we find your stuff? Are we plugging Hyphn? Is that where we want to?
At Hyphn Studio and at Low Volt Guy. That's where you can find all my stuff.
Yeah. At Hyphn Studio. That's the Instagram.
That's our Instagram. More of our cable-based things are on my Instagram, which is at Low Volt Guy.
At Low Volt Guy.
Yeah. And I always have runs on CommScope is my tag I use for anything that's CommScope related.
Oh yeah, that's right. The hashtag runs on CommScope. That's a good one.
We
like that. Yeah, Matt, anything that you want to plug before we get off?
No, so CommScope and the just the effort that technology and solutions we have around the cloud scale group, MTDC community and hyperscale, right? That's what we're laser focused on, and having a lot of fun working in that. It's a great time to be alive.
Yes, thank you for ending on that, because that's what we're here to do. Have fun, do good work, and have fun doing it. That's what I always tell people. I love it. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you guys coming on. Love what CommScope is doing. I love what Hyphn is doing. I love what you're doing, William. I really appreciate it.
I'm trying. We're all trying here.
You're doing. You're not trying. You're doing. I love it. All right, guys. Y'all have a good day.
Take care. Thank you.
See y'all.
Ciao.
See you.